Nobody better at breaking down college football than our next guest. Paul Stone joins us courtesy of Paul Stone Sports. Make sure you check out his website and, of course, catch him on all his media appearances throughout the week. But this is our prime time, me and Paul, when we get to go one-on-one throughout the week here on Thursday. Paul, great to have you back here on Newswire once again. Appreciate it as we head to another big week in college football. One of the biggest games on the board will commence at 3:30 Eastern time. Very intriguing matchup. You don't see very often. Auburn takes on Oklahoma. We got a Heisman Trophy candidate, by the way, out of Oklahoma. I don't think a lot of people thought that going into the season. Sooners, 6.5-point favorites, total 47.5. Kind of feel like I know what Oklahoma is at this point. Not really sure what Auburn is. I would love your opinion on this game and more on this John Mateer, who is now on FanDuel, very close to being the favorite to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't. It's only mid September, obviously, Craig, and I don't like to be the prisoner of the moment, a prisoner of the moment. But these teams come into this game both at 3-0. You know, Auburn's got a pretty good victory. They went into Baylor that season, week one, season opening Friday night, beat Baylor in Waco 38-24, and then Oklahoma hosted Michigan in week two, pretty well in control from beginning to end, defeating the Wolverines 24-13. But the winner of this game, you know, in my mind, they're going to have, you know, a really nice data point on their resume. Certainly won't be in the playoff because the SEC is a gauntlet week in and week out, but they'll have kind of a leg up. Both these schools fielding transfer quarterbacks. It's been well chronicled, but Jackson Arnold, Auburn's first-year starting quarterback, played his first two seasons of college football at Oklahoma. And then John Mateer kind of took a circuitous route to Oklahoma, but he is now Arnold's successor as Oklahoma's starting quarterback. And as you mentioned, John Mateer, currently at most books, the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. But an interesting story, I'm here in the state of Texas. Mateer played high school football just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex at Little Elm High School. Denton Geyer High School in Denton, Texas, one of the premier powers in the state of Texas. That's where Jackson Arnold played high school football. Mateer one grade ahead of Arnold, but actually Arnold, a big-time five-star recruit, could have gone anywhere. Ultimately, initially signed with Oklahoma. Mateer, on the other side, thought of as much of a baseball player as a football player. Originally committed to Central Arkansas, FCS Central Arkansas, to play both baseball and football. Washington State came in late, went to Washington State, watched during 2023. But when Cameron Ward went to Miami, he burst on the scene in 2024, a big year last year at Washington State, almost 4,000 total yards offense. So John Mateer, a true dual threat guy. There's a lot to like about both these teams to this point, but I just like Oklahoma at home. I like their roster by a slim margin. They're the more complete football team. But what it really comes down to, in my opinion, the wild card from my chair is John Mateer. I mean, this guy just seems to be a man on a mission. They follow his lead. I think Oklahoma's a team on a mission. They're playing with so much confidence. He's just got that moxie. He's got that attitude. Statistically, he's thrown for 944 yards to this point, rushed for another 161. Last year, Oklahoma, in the 134 team FBS structure, they were at the very bottom in almost every major statistical passing category. This year, they're much closer to the top. It's because of Mateer and receivers like Deion Burks, a field stretcher who has 17 catches for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns to this point. I just like this Oklahoma team. I think they're bound ultimately for the playoff. I like Oklahoma -7 now over Auburn.
Yeah, 6.5, 7. I guess that was the line maybe earlier in the week. All right, so now let's get to the next game, Paul, for you to break down. And boy, what a great story that was. I wonder if you have one for us here. All right, so Baylor faced Auburn, of course, in week one, and now we're going to talk about them. They're 2.5-point favorites. Should be a very highly contested battle against Arizona State. In fact, a lot of love right now for Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson. Here's ASU head coach Kenny Dillingham on Robertson. Take a listen to this, Paul.
Yeah, I actually recruited him out of high school. Didn't get him. Went to Mississippi State to play, you know, he's a heck of a player. He's accurate. He's tall, big, so he can see over the line, make throws over the middle of the field really well, which is obviously a strength of a taller quarterback. Super intelligent, better athlete than people give him credit for. Like, he's a big dude. I went and saw him throw live at a practice back in high school. So really good player. He's had a lot of success the last 2 years there. So it's going to be a good challenge for us.
Paul, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in this early part of the season. Great start for Robertson.
Breakdown there of Sawyer Robertson. He not only signed with Mississippi State, the coach when he signed at Mississippi State was the late Mike Leach. So just a little bit of a nugget there, kind of a sad nugget to bring that up with Coach Leach no longer with us. But Sawyer Robertson, man, he is the man. He in their first 2 games against a couple of pretty good football teams, talking about Auburn in week 1, and then he followed that up against SMU on the road, threw for 419 yards in that loss to Auburn, then went to SMU, threw for 440 yards in that overtime victory. They've averaged in those 2 games 8.8 yards per attempt, so almost 9 yards an attempt in those games against Auburn and SMU. So that's a really robust average. And the difficulty with Baylor as well, and I know Kenny Dillingham knows this, is they don't just have 1 or 2 receivers you gotta cover. They got a lot of guys that can catch the ball in space and make things happen. In fact, they've already had 3 wide receivers have 100-yard receiving games through 3 games this year. Those guys being Josh Cameron, Ashton Watkins, and Cole Wilson. Then they also have a tight end that they use. Michael Trigg was a big-time recruit. He was second team All Big 12 last year. Trigg this year so far, 13 catches for 151 yards through 3 touchdowns. And I hadn't even mentioned Kobe Prentice, the Alabama transfer. He only has 10 catches, but 4 of them for touchdowns. So Baylor's got a lot of receivers. It's hard for most teams to match up. Auburn gave up 419 passing yards to Baylor in that opening game. I'm getting off on a different game here. I'm sorry. Got confused. Imagine that. But, I just think that, Baylor's going to be able to pass the ball on this Arizona State team. And like I said, and maybe I didn't say it, but Blake Shapen in that Mississippi State victory over Arizona State in week 2, 24-20, Blake Shapen, Mississippi State's quarterback, threw for 279 yards, 8.5 yards per attempt. So he threw the ball quite well on them. I think Robertson and Baylor, although Mississippi State's passing game is good, Baylor's is very good. Robertson's got a lot of receivers at his disposal. I think they're going to throw the ball, big numbers. I think they're going to beat Arizona State by a field goal or more Saturday.
2.5-point spread there. All right, Paul, let's close it out with a game that, if you asked me to break it down, Paul, couldn't do it. That's why we have you here. North Texas takes on Army, with North Texas mean green, right? 50.5 is the total here. We know that there's going to be a lot of running in this game because that's what Army does. Tell me more about this showdown at noon Eastern on Saturday.
Well, it's a contrast in styles. Like you said, Army just does a whole lot of running. They try to churn that clock. They try to possess the ball. They try to keep it away from their opponent. And that will be especially important against North Texas because North Texas is a team that likes to throw the ball all over the yard. Averaged 43 pass attempts last year to North Texas, threw the ball on 60% of their offensive plays. But I just like this Army team. Their quarterback, Dwayne Coleman, missed their week 2 victory over Kansas State. They beat the Wildcats 24-20 as a 16.5-point underdog after losing their season opener as a 14.5-point favorite. Lost to Tarleton State of the FCS 30-27, but Tarleton State's really good. I like this Army team. I think they're going to possess the ball. Kel Helms played in relief of Coleman in the victory over Kansas State. Helms had 41 carries, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think Army keeps a hold of the ball. I like Army plus 1.5 to 2.5 over North Texas.
As always, great stuff, Paul. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.